Growing up on a gently sloping hillside far behind the tall pine forests, the snowman had never seen a wave, let alone a crashing curl of tropical seawater. But from the moment he overheard two half-frozen surfers bragging about the perfect barrel, he knew he was destined for the ocean. It didn't matter that he was crafted from the purest winter snow or that he sported a carrot nose that sometimes froze solid in a stiff breeze. A calling was a calling. The surfers left behind a battered surf magazine when they took off with their boards, and the snowman read it cover to cover. Those glossy pages promised him a world of towering waves and golden beaches he just had to experience, and so began his improbable quest. The first step was figuring out how to stay frosty in the hot sun. After all, most snowmen last about 5 minutes in the tropics before turning into a reluctant puddle. Fortunately, the snowman was open to creative solutions. He formed an alliance with a friendly local wizard. Well, wizard was a strong word. He was a retired stage magician who had a knack for illusions. After many an evening chat, the old magician agreed to craft the snowman a special aura. "I'll call it the gelid aura of enduring chill," he announced dramatically, waving a wand covered in sequins. And though that title was far too long, it did the trick. The moment the magic settled around the snowman, he felt a soothing coolness spread through every powdery part of him. "I live," he bellowed. The wizard nearly fell off his stool, but the snowman offered him a frosty grin. No more fear of tropical meltdown. With his magical temperature control all set, the snowman needed a surfboard. That was easier said than done in the middle of a snowy country. Determined, he gathered chunks of driftwood from a frozen lake's shore, but that ended up more like a clunky raft than a gracefully sleek board. Unsatisfied, he set out to find a real board. "Maybe I can hitchhike south and snag one from a proper surf shop," he told himself. Thumbing a ride well, as much as a snowman can thumb a ride proved, to be surprisingly easy. Drivers passing through the countryside recognized the novelty: a snowman in a Hawaiian shirt and colorful board shorts, orange carrot nose shining in the sunlight. Everyone wanted a photo. In exchange, the snowman asked for a lift. One kind family, traveling all the way to Florida for winter break, agreed to take him along, as long as he promised not to leave puddles all over their plush seats. On the road, the kids in the car squealed with delight. One of them, a girl named Bella, insisted on adorning him with seashell necklaces, even though the nearest beach was still hundreds of miles away. The father, a jovial man sporting flip-flops despite the cold, asked the snowman endless questions about his origin. The mother offered him a thermos of hot cocoa before realizing the irony of giving a snowman something hot to drink. Quickly, she scrambled for ice water, but the snowman politely insisted he was fine. Gelidora to the rescue. They were a cheerful bunch, cracking jokes and singing pop songs off-key. With every mile, the snowman felt his anticipation grow. He could almost hear the waves crashing. Eventually, they arrived in Florida. The kids were eager to race to the beach, but the snowman politely excused himself in search of a proper surf shop. He strolled along the boardwalk, drawing more than a few stares and even causing a traffic jam when a group of skateboarders tried to follow him for selfies. But he kept his eyes on the prize. When he finally found Sunny Sam's Surf Shack, a ramshackle hut overflowing with boards and paraphernalia, he knew he was in the right place. Sam, the shop owner, took one look at him and burst into laughter. "Well, I've heard of the traveling surfer," Sam said, "but never expected a talking snowman with a carrot nose to come asking for a board." "You sure you're serious?" The snowman nodded fervently. Without missing a beat, Sam selected a vibrant orange and teal surfboard. "She's called Seabreeze. Take good care of her," he said with a wink. The snowman happily handed over the money and stepped outside, cradling the board like the crowning piece in his epic journey. Sam pointed him toward the nearest stretch of sand. "It's not exactly your big pipeline waves, but it's a start," he said. The snowman thanked him and lugged Seabreeze to the shoreline. The beach was scattered with palm trees that rustled in the slight breeze, and the surf was small but teasingly inviting. Small children squealed and built sandcastles, while retirees dozed under umbrellas. Hesitation flickered across the snowman's face. He'd never actually surfed. He'd only read about it in that battered magazine, but how hard could it be? He waddled into the shallow water and hopped onto the board, only to slide off the moment a small ripple bobbed beneath him. Several attempts and watery flops later, he realized it might be time for some professional help. Luckily, a group of surfers was hanging farther down the shore, joking around in the shallows. The snowman mustered his courage and ambled over, gingerly dragging Seabreeze along. One of the surfers, a sandy-haired fellow with perpetual sunglass tan lines, whistled. "Dude, you're a snowman?" he asked, sounding somewhere between amused and astonished. "I might be a snowman," replied the frosty adventurer, "but I have a cool new board and a burning desire to surf." Another surfer, this one with neon pink hair, snorted. "We can teach you, buddy, but you gotta be ready to tumble. Surfing's not for the faint-hearted." The snowman squared his twiggy shoulders. "Try me." Their lessons began with the basics. The surfers taught him to pop up from a lying position, which ended in comedic results when the snowman's perfectly round middle made it difficult to hold balance. Sunglass tan lines surfed circles around him, hollering pointers. "Keep your way forward. You don't exactly have normal feet, do you?" The snowman wobbled like a top-heavy toddler, then crashed again with a spectacular splash. But time after time he pulled himself up. Gelid aura or not, the sun was glaring, the salty water stung, and his carrot nose threatened to loosen. Still, he soldiered on, fueled by sheer determination. By afternoon, he managed to catch a small wave. Nothing fancy, just a gentle roll that fizzled into foam splendid. It was enough to make him toss his stick arms in triumph. The surfers cheered. A bizarre sight, for sure, a grinning snowman riding the brake, his twiggy arms raised like he'd just conquered Mount Everest. Sure, he toppled over into a watery swirl at the last second, but for that one moment, he glimpsed the thrill he dreamed about reading that magazine. That tiny rush was enough for him to decide he needed bigger waves. He needed the perfect wave he had read, a mesmerizing tunnel of water that carried surfers' hearts on an adrenaline-fueled joyride. And theirs, they said, could be found in more distant, exotic places. With thanks and farewells to his new surfer friends, the snowman set off on a new leg of his journey. He wanted to venture beyond Florida's friendly but tame swells. Word on the street was that beaches in Hawaii, Costa Rica, and Australia held the biggest waves, so he hopped onto a cruise ship heading through the Caribbean, imagining it would be a convenient, water-adjacent way to travel. He'd made just enough money from letting people take novelty photos with him, plus donations from the surfers, to afford a modest ticket. The day he boarded, the staff nearly fainted with surprise, but the snowman's polite manners eventually thawed their doubts. He promised not to melt on the carpets. After all, he had a gelid aura in place. The journey was full of mismatched comedic encounters. During the elegant dinner service, the snowman tried to politely sip from a water glass, but each time he lifted the glass to his mouth, half of it would splash across his torso. Guests around him giggled, impressed by how he took the mishaps in stride. Later that evening, a steel drum band performed by the pool. The snowman couldn't contain himself. He hopped up and danced awkwardly, arms flopping, belly jiggling. The crowd ate it up like they were front row at a comedy act. By the time the ship docked at a small Caribbean island, the snowman had become a sort of cruising celebrity. He even had a catchphrase, "Chill out, man," that tourists repeated. The staff gave him a special farewell, presenting him with a tiny coconut carved in the shape of a surfboard. He displayed it proudly, pressing on toward his dream. The next tropical beach proved more lively and dramatic. Parrot plume trees fringed a shoreline dotted with tiki bars and hammock clusters. The water rolled in with a bit more ferocity than the gentle waves in Florida. Perfect. With sea breeze in hand, the snowman waded in, practiced his pop-up, and let out a jubilant whoop when a powerful wave caught him off guard, launching him forward with more speed than he expected. He nearly soared into a beachside fruit stand, scattering pineapples and mangoes. Startled, locals stared. A few surfers came by to check if he was okay, but the snowman popped up with a laugh, adjusting the carrot nose that had shifted precariously. "Just another day on the quest for the perfect wave," he said. A new group of surfers, more seasoned than the fun lovers he met in Florida, approached. One of them, a sturdy woman with strong arms and an equally strong handshake, introduced herself as Leah. She had a no-nonsense expression that softened into a wide grin when she realized she was indeed speaking to a surfing snowman. "I've been all over the world," she told him, "and I've never seen anything like this. You've got guts. If you're serious about bigger swells, you might consider the North Shore of Oahu." The snowman nodded. Hawaii was on his mental map, but hearing someone mention it with such conviction sealed his plans. Leah kindly offered to help him hone his skills before the big leagues. She put him through the ringer, dragging him out at dawn to catch the quiet morning waves, making him practice pop-ups and foot placement until he collapsed in a panting heap. "I don't pant," the snowman insisted, though if I did, I'd be panting for sure. Under her guidance, he improved drastically. He learned to read the wave sets, to duck dive beneath oncoming breakers, and to pivot years of snowman's center of gravity weirdness into a balancing strategy. He still had comedic wipeouts, more than enough to keep the beach crowds entertained. At one point, his head separated from his body in a particularly tumbling crash, rolling up the shore like a lost bowling ball, only to be unceremoniously placed back on his shoulders by an amused tourist. Yet each time, with Leah's help, he gathered his diminishing dignity and kept trying. Lee gave him a parting gift, a handmade lei of seashells and coral fragments. "Remember what you came for," she said. "The perfect wave is out there, but sometimes the ones we ride along the way are more special than the final boss wave. Don't forget to enjoy the ride." The snowman bowed solemnly. He had no illusions about how challenging the legendary shores of Oahu would be, but he was determined. A cargo plane was his new mode of transport. One of Leia's surfer friends worked as a pilot flying goods between various islands and the U.S. mainland. "I'll stash you in the cargo hold with some ice," the pilot joked, but he did arrange a surprisingly comfortable corner for the unlikely passenger. Surrounded by crates of bananas and pineapples, the snowman tried to keep from rolling around during turbulence. He recounted the journey in his mind. The magazines back home, the wizard's jelloed aura, the Florida surfers, the Caribbean escapades, Leia's tough but rewarding training, all that led to this final stretch. His carrot nose twitched in excitement. Stepping off the plane in Oahu was like entering a mesmerizing postcard. Towering palm trees swayed against a backdrop of azure skies. The air smelled of plumeria and salt. But the biggest attraction was, of course, the pounding surf. Even from the distance of the airport, the snowman could feel the thunderous energy of waves exploding on the reefs. He had never felt such a powerful call in his frosty heart. The moment he spotted the North Shore's iconic beaches, he gasped, nearly dropping his surfboard. Massive swells rolled in like watery giants, each one curling with lethal grace. The surfers here were in a league of their own, tanned, toned, and fearless. Some of them soared down faces of water that might as well have been walls. This was serious business. A young local surfer named Kimo soon noticed the snowman gawking at the waves. "You sure you want to go out there, buddy?" he asked. "We're talking Pipeline, Sunset Beach, Waimea Bay. These places aren't for amateurs." The snowman swallowed hard, or tried to. "I've come too far to turn back. At least let me try," he said, hugging Seabreeze. Kimo's expression flitted between concern and respect. "All right," he said slowly. "Just promise me if it's too intense, you bail. I've seen surfers get absolutely wrecked out there." The next morning, bright and early, the bravest surfers congregated for a day of big waves. The snowman stood among them, thoroughly out of place, but unwavering. A hush fell over the group as a monstrous set approached. Most surfers paddled out, adrenaline thrumming in the salt-scented air. The snowman followed, arms churning in the water. The moment he reached the lineup, he felt the unstoppable force of the ocean beneath him, a living entity with its own moods. His heart beat like a steel drum. The wave rose, a glistening mountain of imminent thunder. He noticed some surfers slip into position. He calculated that if he started paddling right now, he could catch it as well. He went for it. Everything he had practiced, from Florida's gentle swells to the Caribbean's moderate rollers, came flooding back. He popped up on Seabreeze. In that fraction of a second, the world seemed to slow down. His twig arms extended for balance, and he crouched. The wave loomed overhead, curling into a tube of swirling water. For the first time, the snowman understood why surfers spoke of the moment of truth, that breathtaking instant when you're inside the barrel. Echoes of crashing water roared around him, yet he felt strangely calm in the shimmering tunnel. Time felt infinite. Then the wave closed out, the lip crashed down, and with a spectacular whoosh, the snowman tumbled into a fierce swirl. He felt a tremendous rush of water drag him under, spinning him like a piece of driftwood. For a second, panic threatened. He twisted around, flailing, his carrot nose separated, swirling somewhere near the reef, but something in him, maybe all that training or his unwavering sense of humor, pushed him to stay calm. He let the wave's energy pass, then ascended to the surface, gasping in relief. Well, he didn't exactly breathe in the human sense, but the relief was real. Sunlight dazzled, and surfers bobbed on their boards nearby, their expressions torn between admiration and concern. The snowman's body, while battered, still retained its frosty composition. "Gelid Aura, you done good!" The rest of the surfers whooped and hollered, smacking the water in celebration. Chemo paddled over, wide-eyed. "You half-rode the beast, man. That's no small feat. Go get your nose, though it's drifting off." Sure enough, the carrot floated a few yards away. The snowman retrieved it, reattached it, and let out a hearty laugh. "That was something else," he said. "Definitely not the perfect wave, but wow, it was an experience." He kept at it for the next few days, occasionally catching smaller waves off to the side, still bigger than anything in Florida. Each wipeout had comedic slapstick moments, from losing an arm to a reef snag to turning into a rolling snowball on the shore. His face was plastered in watery confusion more often than not, yet every time he paddled back out, he felt a deeper kinship with the ocean, as if it was telling him, "You've come all this way, let's have some fun." By day 5, word had spread about the snowman fearless enough to tackle big waves. A small crowd gathered on the beach, some wearing sunglasses and leis, others sipping coconut water. They cheered whenever he appeared, chanting, "Comigone." Mimo acted as his mentor, pointing out wave sets. "Here comes a good one, maybe your perfect wave," he said one glorious afternoon. High in the distance, a wave formed with a timeless grace. The snowman steadied himself, exhaled metaphorically, and paddled like mad. He popped up on sea breeze just as the wave pitched forward. A short boarder tried to drop in too, saw the snowman, and expertly yielded right of way. The ocean roared, but in a way that felt almost welcoming this time. The waves steepened into a crystalline wall, and the snowman crouched. He could see the entire beach from inside the swirling tunnel of water, the light bent and refracted, shimmering in aquatic prisms. Something deep in him recognized that this wave was different, a match made in watery heaven. Perfect? Possibly. He held his line, arms out, letting the energy of the wave carry him. The roar became a symphony, salt spray catching glints of sunlight. Time slowed down again, but this time it stretched out longer, as if the wave was kindly offering him the ride of his life. The cheers from the beach became distant, muffled by the pounding water walls. All he felt was the wild joy of flowing with nature's force. Then, almost gently, the wave opened up and the snowman shot out of the barrel onto the open face. The crowd erupted in celebration so loud it echoed off the palm trees. Cameras flashed, surfers hooted. The sense of triumph was perfect, full, complete. He hadn't just caught a big wave. He'd emerged from the tube, forging a memory that would swirl within him forever. After that, the snowman paddled back to shore, high-fiving surfers along the way. His carrot nose dripped with foam. His eyes sparkled like crystals. Even Chemo, usually too cool for big displays of emotion, gave him a massive grin. "Dude, that was legendary," he said. "You sure you aren't just an Eskimo in disguise?" The snowman let out a rolling laugh. "Nope, definitely a snowman, and I think I might have found my perfect wave." But the magic of it wasn't just in the wave. It was in the entire journey. All the laughter, friendly strangers, near meltdowns, comedic stumbles, and unwavering belief that a snowman could ride waves in the tropics. Later that evening, the beach bonfire glowed under a canopy of stars. Surfers gathered to share stories, strumming guitars and roasting marshmallows. The snowman perched on a driftwood log, Carefully keeping some distance from the flames, yet feeling an unexpected warmth inside, he gazed at the ocean, glimmering under the moonlight, remembering how it felt to be inside that living, breathing tube of water. Not every wave he'd ride from now on would be that perfect. Some days, he'd wipe out. Some days, he'd lose his nose again, or skateboard across the beach in a comedic display of off-balance stumbles. But that single wave proved it was possible. The dream was real, and the comedic, determined snowman had indeed captured it, if only for a glorious few seconds. He rose from his log, joined the circle of surfers, and said, "I never expected a life like this. I'm just a snowman who on a whim decided to chase a wave. But look at us now, friends, bonfire, stories to tell. The perfect wave might be physical, but it's also a feeling." The group nodded, enthralled, passing around pineapple slices and coconut drinks. Someone joked about him opening a surf school for other winter creatures. Another teased about installing air conditioning around the beach to keep him from melting. The laughter came easily. Before the night ended, the snowman closed his eyes and let the sounds wash over him. Crackling fire, gentle music, waves lapping the shore. He understood that everything he'd imagined from those magazine pages was surpassed by the real thing: the smell of salt, the sting of water in his eyes, the adrenaline surge, and the people. Surfers came in all forms, from novices with shaky knees to legends tackling monster waves, united by a love of that perfect swell. Frozen or not, he was part of something bigger than himself. Morning would bring more surf, more tumbles, and perhaps another chance to catch lightning in a barrel. Yet, even if he never experienced a wave quite as perfect again, the snowman knew he had rewritten what was possible for a snowman. He would forever hold that memory like a glimmering shell, a testament to the comedy, perseverance, and wonder that led him from the snowy hillside to the tropical beaches. He lifted a seashell lei from around his neck, set it gently on the sand, and bowed to the sea in gratitude. Clutching sea breeze under one arm, he pressed a stick hand to his snowy chest and exhaled a silent vow. He would keep riding waves wherever he went, exploring new shores, collecting more comedic misadventures in every tropical paradise that welcomed him. The surf was calling. Even snowflakes can't resist the siren song of the ocean. And with the gentle hush of the breeze through palm fronds, the snowman smiled into the moonlight. He'd found his perfect wave, and he wasn't done riding yet.